My name is Doug, and this is Leaving the Dream. On October 5th, 2021, Hawaii's very own Sam Kapoi was sentenced to 18 years behind bars in a federal prison. With only 4 days left as a free man, Sam sat down with me in an exclusive 4-hour interview that you can only find right here on Leaving the Dream. This is Sam's only interview, and he holds nothing back. So here's Sam's story in his own words.
Oh, from the ashes I will rise. No satisfaction without the fight. A man has limits, oh, so they say, but I'll never listen. Did it my way. I'm gonna take what's mine, I paid my dues. I dare you to walk a mile in these shoes. The beat in my soul just keeps getting louder. Give me some of that power.
How long before trial? It was 3 months, yeah?
No, so October release, November, December, January. So they're supposed to do them February, I think, 2021, but then they pushed it back. They kept like pushing it. Like every lawyer in the case was like, "Oh, don't push them any more time."
Are these other people's lawyers?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got other people that are a part of the same case.
Yeah.
Was there a conspiracy case?
Yep.
Okay, so you have other defendants in the conspiracy case who kept
prolonging.
Yeah, asking for extended. Okay.
Yeah. And then eventually, I think, what was my sentencing date? What was that? Honestly, I don't even remember.
Well, what was your initial plea?
I pleaded guilty.
Right away.
All the fucking. Well, actually, no. I was not guilty at first, and then guilty later because all the statements that was flooding in from whoever.
Did you have a public defender, or you had your own?
I had my lawyer. Yeah.
Okay. And you pled not guilty, and then all of a sudden discovery and all that other stuff, and you see everything.
And they had the proffer, all this shit.
The proffer statements.
Yeah.
And then who gave proffer statements? Like so you had dudes give proffer statements on you?
I'm not sure. I know I had one. I'm not sure who else.
Right.
Who else had one.
So proffer statements, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, because you just went through this, but proffer statements is when you agree to give statements that won't be used in the case. And so a lot of times that will be used if somebody doesn't have strong enough case about something, but on say defendant A can give a proffer statement that is separate from prosecution, but it'll give them, it's basically like giving them what they have without fear of.
Right. And it's like a test to me. You know what I mean? It's like a truth test, basically. Because if you come bullshit, then they're slam you harder. You know what I mean?
So they say, tell us what you give us a proffer statement first.
Yeah. And they start asking questions.
And if it's what we know, if you're telling us the things that we already know, then we know you're being honest with us.
Yeah.
I see.
Pretty much.
And then.
And still at that time, they still never believed me.
Really?
From what I got out of that meeting, you know what I mean? I was like, fucking wasting my time here. Because they're like, oh, that cannot be. They made up their own story, you know what I mean? I was fucking just blown away. So,
and what was their story?
Well, basically what I shared with you, I told them my truth, and they're like, you sure? They kept saying, you sure? Well, you sure wasn't this? They was trying to lead me to answer something else, you know? I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm sure, you know what I mean? That really was about when truth statement kind of meeting, and I'm like, I'm telling you everything I know, and it is what it is. So you're not gonna believe me, then fuck up, I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's because they were upset that they couldn't get more out of you about other people?
I'm sure that's one big reason. Yeah.
So they wanted your plug, and
Not everything. Like they was asking me all kind of random about other people, and I'm like,
right,
I have no clue. Like
right.
no clue. Like I dealt with one guy, but I still have no clue. You know what I mean? And it was just like on and on and on and on. Like we keep slamming you. You know what I mean?
So so you get people in the conspiracy facing same time as you.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
And then
I'm sure that's how it goes, but I can't confirm if that's the case. Because I just heard whoever was like sidelined part of the case. I don't know how the fuck they got part of it, but their names was on the paper. I heard those guys got like 5 years, 10 years, and I'm like, this is like career that I knew growing up that did this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So how the hell is this happening? Like, but then again, the assistant attorney general and the judge told me straight, like, because you're a public figure and, you know, social influence under the radar thing, that's why they're coming down so hard. Basically to make me an example. They never say make me an example, but that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, good servant all my life, and then all of a sudden doing this because of greed of money for what they say.
This wasn't about becoming a kingpin. This wasn't about.
It wasn't at all, you know, and that shit just, people's narrative about that is like, get that out your head. It wasn't never about that. And because if I wanted to, we could have. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't want to do that. I just wanted to pay off whatever I had to do for grams.
Yeah, it seems to me like if anybody wanted to build a network, seems to me that if anybody wanted to build channels to make this happen, turn this into something, it's Sam Kapoi. You were like unsuspecting. And so it seems like people would have came, you know, you could have got people to do more. And you know what I mean? Like, it makes, I think that's probably why people go there first, is they're like, you know, this is Sam Kapoi.
She said that, you know, like,
oh really?
Because of your public figure and social status, like, you was under the radar, and that's why we're gonna punish you the way that they did. You know what I mean? Like, because I was the under the radar guy.
The guys who rolled first, snitched from Big Island, did they get off on their time too? You know, like the smaller guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure they did, because I heard that all their lawyers filed 5Ks, you know, for them. I never got that.
What's that?
The 5K motion. It's pretty much a deal that you make with the government for cooperating, and then in return getting lesser time. So, yep.
So a 5K is a plea deal for lesser time.
Yeah, like
cooperate.
A legit deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and you never got offered that.
Nope. Yeah. I don't know if it was a request thing that they had to do or whatever, but yeah, I never got it. So it was kind of surprisingly, you know, I just found this out like maybe a month or two ago that every single one of them got this 5K deal, you know, offer, and I was like, wow, right on. I guess they knew what they was doing.
Are all those cases, Paul?
I'm not sure. From what I know, most of them are. And then, yeah.
Were you the last?
No, so my wife, right, at the time, she was my girlfriend. And so they're charging her with conspiracy as well. You know?
Oh, really?
Her sentencing is coming up on the 10th, I think, of January. And I don't know what's going to happen. You know, like, I'm praying for the best, because they're trying to make, like, she was, like, part of this whole fucking thing. But I was hiding this thing from her this whole time, you know, like, she didn't know a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Even if she knew, like, a smidgen of whatever, they're still trying to make, like, she was, like, a leader group, whatever the hell it was, you know, in this whole ring. And because of other statements from other people, like, I guess it's working against her in a way. I mean, this is from what I know so far, but yeah, I'm not too sure what's going to happen or what she's facing. And,
so what are you what is your sentence?
18 years. That's my
And
sentence.
does that mean all 18?
No, so with the feds, from the research that I've done is that you get mandatory 85%. So basically 15% of your time can be knocked off based off of good behavior, which is 54 days within a year, every year with good behavior. So technically I could be facing 15.3. And then a little bit more research that I've done is that I can get into different programming, like schooling and whatnot. And for every degree or program that you finish, you get a certain amount of time knocked off, like up to a year or so. So, yeah. And then you get to, plead to the board and try to see if you could get out early and have what is it called? Outpatient program to like host you and vouch for you so that you can get out early. So I don't know what the mandatory time I gotta be there in order for all those things to take place, like the programming and whatnot. But they hit me with 18 plus 5 years supervised after. So it's like literally 24 years, you know what I mean?
Sam, what does that feel like? Like, I can't even tell you how many times I've said to my wife, like I've been just sitting with my family or eating dinner or whatever, and I'll think to myself, Sam Kapoi got sentenced to 18 years. I got babies. And I'm like, bro, what does that feel like? It's a horrible thing that I honestly tried to put myself in that position. Like, what if I'm facing 18 years? How would that feel? And it's just unfathomable. I can't even imagine. And so I'm trying to see, like, how are you so strong? Like, I talked to you and like, you're making time for this right now and you're going about your day. I still see Kalo Bombs pop-ups. I follow Kalo Bombs on Instagram and I see like you guys still doing things and you still doing your thing, trying to raise a family and all that. What do you go through when you find out that sentencing?
Well, I had over a year to process this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, in the beginning, February, I was scared to death. I didn't even leave my house. Because it was shitty. I was like, holy shit, like this actually happened. You know what I mean? I got popped. Something happened, like the fear of the unknown, just the unknown itself, like the anxiety, paranoia was out the roof because it was just like, oh, we'll be in touch with you kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's it. There's nothing else. I don't know what I'm facing, when they're gonna grab me, what gonna happen, like just nothing. So to battle that paranoia and anxiety, I just had to go back and be normal. You know what I mean? I had to force myself to be normal again and do what I normally do, which was hustle and figure shit out because life literally goes on. You know what I mean? And I just was like godsend, bro. Like that's the God honest truth. Like the whole Kalo thing just came out of the blue. And after one call, it happened. And so with that, I use that as something to keep my mind busy, distract me, whatever it was, and because if I sulk in my current situation, most people go crazy, you know what I mean? Like I'm just human, you know what I mean? I know I could fall into that trap and just be the victim, like, oh my God, feel sorry for me, blah, blah, like all that bullshit, like, but I just not like that, you know what I mean? Like I owned up to my shit and I figured it out, and I tried my best to set whatever up for my wife and my family, like for if I gonna have to go, you know what I mean? And eventually when my sentencing came, there was a lot of stuff that happened in this past year, almost 2 years, that really tested me. Major tests, more hard than the Kamehameha Schools test. You know what I mean? Like crazy tests, and was this like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, you know what I mean? Like everything, just one time, like, hey, it's like a time bomb, you know what I mean? Like, there is a time limit. You have a deadline coming and you don't know when it is. So now hustle your ass off, because when the timer just goes off, game is over. Like, you got to go and do your time, right? I wasn't expecting, I was trying to manifest something lesser than 10, obviously, right? And that just never happened, unfortunately. But I never let that slow me down, like I pushed even harder. Like when I heard that, I was like, holy shit, like even more, I would have to make sure everything is fine when I go, and like, for example, setting up Kalo Bombs, like this is like my baby in a way, you know what I mean? Like the dream business, dream job that I've created, the brand, right? The face, the everything, the culture behind it, all of it. And then of course the food that sustains and provides for literally for our people. That story, if you heard a story of Halo, that's why he died, was to sustain us forever. That's just the story. And so whether it's sustaining physically, and then of course mentally, spiritually, and then now in these days financially, because they turned the business, from using that product, right? So that eased my mind a lot. You know what I mean? Just to like know that something is there that can provide when I'm gone. You know what I mean? For the family, and then something that I can look forward to coming out to expand. Because of course, I mean, this is like the speck of the whole larger plan. You know what I mean? Of this business. It's way huger than that, and I wish I could share more, but we have to tune into the next episode. but yeah, like I got huge plans. You know what I mean, for the future with this business, and the earlier I can come out, the sooner I can start executing all those things. To show that it was always in the making. You know what I mean?
Will there be is there an opportunity for when you're in to still run this and have your hand in how it works? I mean, I don't understand. I don't know the capabilities.
Yeah. Technically, no. Technically you're not supposed to own any businesses when you're incarcerated.
Really?
So yeah. So like nothing is in my name. You know what I mean?
Right. Someone else is gonna have to run it.
Yeah. And I never wanted it in my name. Like it was something to pass on. You know what I mean? Anyway, from the beginning. But yeah. But we've been gearing up to this so that it could be like something that anyone could run. Mm-hmm. And I think we've reached that point for the next step of growth. Like we literally just made a franchise up in the North Shore with this young couple that was super motivated, reached out to us and was like, we're down. And, I was transparent from the beginning, shared my story. They heard of it, but I was like, you can hear them from the horse's mouth, shared this story basically. And they're like, F the haters, like, let's do this. Like that's what they said. And just, connecting with them was like a whole other vibe and level, like they was really about it. And still, they're really about it. So they put in the time, made the investment, and now they're going to take over the whole northern region of Oahu. And that's how we set up this whole thing. Like the franchising process was not fun at all. Like it's crazy. Like people charge $70,000 just to get paperwork done for a franchise. Yeah. And that's like the minimum, you know what I mean? And so when I heard that, I was like, wow, I ain't got that kind of money to throw on just for papers. So me and my wife just figured it out, you know what I mean? Figured out the whole thing and made it happen. And now it's a legit franchise on the North. And now there's multiple people, asking and calling. So we might be expanding even more while I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like in the hands of, whoever we put in charge. So yeah, it's kind of, it's like I said earlier, it's like blessing and a curse, bro. It's like I'm glad to see this baby growing, right? And literally, in many, all aspects of its growth, of its infancy stages, but super sad and depressed that I'm gonna have to be leaving, to let go. And but at the same time, like, not worried. You know what I mean? I know that I've done enough to like make it easy enough to run with someone capable.
Man. So I guess at this point, how many days you got left?
2.
So 2 more days on Oahu.
Yep.
And then where you got to go?
I leave on January 2nd, Sunday. And then I got to turn myself in on Tuesday, January 4th, 2 p.m.
So what does that look like? Like, do you say goodbye to your family before you fly? You know?
Yeah, Bryce. So that's a whole other story. But like after my sentencing, right, in October, when was it? October 5th, I think it was. I just was looking at sentencing. Yeah, October 5th was my sentencing day. After that, so like my aunties and uncles was there, my mom's siblings, and then some of my close cousins and family and friends. And after that day, it was like I was talking to my lawyer, and I turned, and it was empty, like the courtroom, right? So I'm like, wow. I go outside, and there was like maybe 5 guys waiting. One of my cousins, my good friend, and 2 good friends, and one of my aunties, and of course, and my wife. And I was just like, kind of tripping. You know what I mean? Like, is this where the disconnect begins? Like, is this how it happens? You know what I mean? Like, I would think everybody would be there because they was there to support. Like, oh fuck, be here or whatever.
Right.
Never happened. Everybody just vanished, bro. Yeah. It's hard to talk about, but it is what it is. That shit happened. So, yeah, I took it with a grain of salt, and just try to release it, But not gonna lie, it did hurt. Yeah. Well, whatever. The people that really, I guess, supported and down has always been there, so it's all good.
And those are the people that you're not surprised in who those people are, right? Who are there?
Oh no, I was.
Really?
Yeah, totally was. So, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the people that is really down going to be down. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just hold them down forever, regardless. So yeah. I mean, I know that people get their own lives, and it's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Just to survive in this time, and I'm not expecting anybody to drop everything and cater to whatever the hell I gotta deal with. But I definitely appreciate whoever reaches out. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's calling, texting, whatever, social media stuff, even coming to the shop and just showing love. You know what I mean? Like, it's very appreciative, and yeah.
Where's the shop at?
Out in Miley, in Tua-Nei. It's at I think it's called the Miley Marketplace. Yeah, Miley Market. I forget the name of the building, but it's like right before the Tua-Nei Comprehensive on the right hand side. Big brown building, can't miss it.
So I shared on my channel how I felt about the sentencing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm not a fan of meth trafficking.
For sure.
But there's this weird difference between the person who brings in the pound and sells to one person and the person who buys the pound and sells to 100 people. And I can't figure out what the difference. I don't understand how the person who brings in the pound and sells to one person is worse than the guy who buys the pound and sells to 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's something that's hard for me to figure out in my head. Because is it just because it's the quantity and he made it possible for that person to sell to the 100 people? Like, it seems to me like it's hard to quantify the differences there, and I don't know how the government figures it out. I'm never in favor of an 18-year sentence for drugs. I don't understand how that. My podcast, we focus on crimes. I have a Patreon where we deal with like the most infamous crimes in Hawaii.
Right.
But we're talking about Xerox shootings. We're talking about Kahea and Dredgenal. You know what I mean? We're talking about Ariel, Peter Boy Kemma.
Right.
These people get less time than you, Sam.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I'm not gonna, like I said, I think that it's wrong to sell crystal meth because I watch it destroy Hawaii.
Sure. Yeah.
But I don't understand how someone who sold Batu in Hawaii gets more time than someone who murdered a baby boy.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. So, and I get a lot of hate for that from some people. I'm not defending drug dealers, but I'm also saying, what are we doing? Like 18
years? Justify it. You know what I mean?
What is 18 years going to teach Sam Kapoi that 10 years wouldn't? Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
For sure.
Because if we're going to let you out, it's for a reason. It's like 18 years, just give them life. What are you doing 18 years? You know what I mean? I understand 7 years, you still got your life, right? 18 is like, bro, give him 100 already. You take 18 years and that's what bugs me. And I've arrested hundreds of people. And it's, like I said, all drugs or crimes that happen because of drugs.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of experience with people who are addicted to drugs or who deal drugs. But 18 years, that doesn't make any sense to me. What do you feel about the sentence? What are your thoughts on 18 years? Like, obviously it shocked you. You were hoping for less than 10. You weren't even thinking 18 was a possibility, right?
Not even a possibility. I other than shock, I mean, just disappointed, I guess. Like I don't know, you know, like unfair. You know what I mean? Like you just said, like totally owned it, understand the severity, the potential of ruining kids' lives. I did sell stuff to consensual adults, no children. You know what I mean? So like whatever they did with it is what they did with it. It's like getting busted for selling a fucking Pepsi and getting diabetes. You know what I mean? Like it's the same. To me, it's similar shit. Sugar is more addictive than drugs, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like to be judged and sentenced with 18, like it was on side blind to say the least. You know what I mean? Like major low blow.
You didn't shoot out. There was no shootout.
It was all hiding, real chill.
You told them everything.
Bro, like
you made the case easy.
Yep.
And
no runarounds, no nothing, bro. Like these fucking guys just straight hammered me. Like just like and from what Judge Otake told me, right, was that I wasn't remorseful to the kids that I affected. That's all she said. And I was like shocked. I was like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. And I really wanted to ask her, like, can you show me the statistics of the dope that I had that affected these kids you're talking about? You know what I mean? Like, if you really like talk about that, then show me. You know what I mean? Like, because you're using that against me. So you can show me, and then I can be like, okay, cool. But I was remorseful in my letter that I wrote to her. I did talk about myself and, you know, tell her my whole story, right? Via and letter, because that's what they said to do. Introduce myself, whatever, tell them about me. And she just thought I was like gloating and talking about myself and never care about the people that I affected. And I was like, what the hell? Like,
So
was
do you think that the letter makes a difference?
It could have, if
You
I
think
was
so?
more, apparently to her, if I was more remorseful to the kids
Right.
that I hurt or affected, put in foster care specifically, what she said, I potentially could have had less time. But yeah, I did share my remorsefuls, my regrets, and all that kind of stuff of the stuff that I, you know, the drugs that I sold in that time, and it just wasn't enough to her, you know, and she just instantly said that I affected all these kids in foster care and whatnot, and or put kids in foster care because of drugs, and I was like, wow.
Right. And you understand, she's saying the drugs that you supplied to Hawaii,
Yeah, generally, I understand that.
the adults used it and then lose their families to crystal meth.
Yeah,
And she's right. Obviously, that's
yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
happened.
totally.
But you, like, how far do you have to take the apology? You know, do you apologize to the parents and then to the kids and then to their future kids and then to the
Right,
generations down? Like, where
right,
does it stop? And to
right.
me, I really don't think that it's fair if your letter,
Really.
if the judge has discretion to make it an 18-year sentence because she thinks that you used your public clout,
Yeah,
your history of Hawaiian advocacy
hmm,
to take advantage of that and sell drugs.
right.
And then for her to decide how long your sentence is based on the letter that you wrote. To me, that doesn't seem okay. It does seem like a problem in the system. If that's the case, I don't know
Right.
how that stuff works. It's possible they had 18 years that they were going for from the beginning and she just used that as a
Rounded
moment to, like,
along.
you know
Right,
what I mean? That's
right.
possible. But if it's true that your letter had something to do with that, that doesn't seem right because you're in a tough spot. You're facing tons of years and they're telling you to write the letter. And this is like a hoop you got to kind of jump through. You obviously are willing to talk about it. You're willing to apologize. Since I started this interview, you haven't not answered a question. You've been straight up. You didn't flinch before answering anything. To me, you seem like you understand what you did. You just admitting that you knew what you were doing was wrong when you were doing it is hard for people to do. And right from the get-go, you were like, I knew, is this load worth 10 years? Right? Like, you've been straight up. And when I read in my live stream, I remember talking about being like, yo, Sam just told him everything and just was cooperative and pled guilty and the whole deal. And that seems
Even
like,
breaking it down like economically, bro. You know, like of course I did the math during and then after, like that last load was worth like 30 grand, right? It was like, okay, is 30 grand worth 10 years? Hell no. It's like 3 grand a year. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I make like 300,000 a year doing what I do, you know, like, and but in that moment, I thought it was worth it. You know what I mean? Like just because I wanted to help someone, specifically my grandma. You know what I mean? And a lot of people can't accept that truth. Specifically my family. You know what I mean? I'm sure they're gonna see this shit, and a lot of them gonna be butthurt. But that's just what it is, you know, and still love them, you know what I mean? Like, but people is just angry, disappointed, and all that shit because of what I've done. But economically, it's like, to the guys that is thinking about it, not worth it at all.